Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I apologize if the sound of my voice comes as a shock. I know that I don't really talk much in the videos that I upload, and that's just because I really don't like the sound of my voice. But I'm gonna get over it because I am trying to just really invest in these videos. Like I said earlier, it's something that I've really always wanted to do pretty much since YouTube came about, because that's my generation. We started YouTube pretty much in the tens of the decade, in like 2010, 11, and 12. And I've been on here since then. I've had a few different channels, but I find that I don't really have any consistent content, so none of them have ever really stuck. So a lot of those videos are actually now private. So I've taken them down. I still have them to keep them and remind me of the progress. But for now, I just kind of enjoy capturing everyday moments and just recording things that I kind of want to just remember that would be otherwise insignificant, like when I wake up and do the morning meditations. Otherwise, I would just be doing them and enjoying them myself. But if I'm not doing morning meditations 10 years from now, and I find these videos, or they're still posted if YouTube is still around, then I'll be able to look back and see how it looked on that day specifically. And that's just something that I'm practicing a lot this year, is mindfulness and being in the moment and capturing those seemingly insignificant moments. So even on shitty days like the weather today, or in this clip even, it's still something to be mindful of and grateful of, because, you know, there's still fresh air out there for the most part, if you don't really think about politics and global warming and pollution. I said politics, I'm sorry, I meant pollution, but also politics, because they contribute significantly. But anyway, just enjoying those moments and doing a lot of working, still working 2 jobs, and have been just kind of balancing that between time off. I've had some time off with it being the slow season in the hospitality industry, just because nobody is traveling after the holidays much, so it's mostly just businesses and conventions that are checking in, so it's pretty quiet there. And here I'm not at the front desk, so I'm in the back office, so I just decided to record a little. I've also been playing a lot of The Sims after work. That's kind of an unofficial routine or ritual that I have. Sometimes I like to just come home and play video games for a few more hours, because I get out at 11 p.m. and nothing is open and nobody is really awake and up for a conversation. Not that I am either, but I spent a lot of time doing that, and I actually got a job interview for a company in an industry that I really want to go in, that is still hospitality, but it's really my dream job and dream position that they're offering me. And so to celebrate that, I went and bought 2 Sims expansion packs. I got the pets and the university. So you see my Sim is doing her homework while her puppies are running around, and right now she has 2, but after a while, I think after this clip, the next day when I was playing, I had them mate, so now she actually has 4 dogs, and it's been absolute chaos, but a lot of fun having her juggle taking care of them, because you can't walk the dogs together, you have to walk them individually, and it's just really funny to watch her struggle to get all of them settled and taken care of, and then also do her homework. It's pretty intense. The Sims College, I will say university, is pretty intense for them, just as much as it is for us in real life, and I really feel for my Sim. So that was just something that I also decided to kind of celebrate, is even if I don't get the job, I secured an interview and I found that position, and I will give you an update as I'm doing this voiceover more towards the end of the month. Whereas this is more towards the beginning. Things are going well with that process still. I don't have the job officially. I'm still in the interview process. But just getting the interview was a celebration for me, and I wanted to do that. Also, I was going to purchase these the day before I got that interview, but I didn't want to impulsively spend the money. And then the next day after I got the interview, I went to look and they were all 50% off, which is why I bought 2. As you can see, that is my moon right there, and the cat across the street was not Moon, but now the cat's gone and I lost it and don't know where it is, but I know that cat is the neighborhood cat as well, and he actually has a red collar, and most people mistake him for Moon because he walks around the entire neighborhood, but Moon only stays in front of my apartment. So I thought that was funny that I caught that, and then he disappeared and I really couldn't find him. I spent the next 30 minutes looking for him. So I'm pretty much rambling, but that's essentially how January has gone. This month is just going with the flow, kind of just moseying on, and I've had some cool things happen. This is a shot from the interview, actually. I thought the rain looked really good, so I captured that. And then this is a red velvet cake that I enjoyed at my bar job, and I got this cake for free because it's new on the menu, and it was so good. It's like a cheesecake, and there's a cookie in the middle. And just small indulgences, I think, is really the biggest thing for me this year, because the last few years have just been really hard personally. Some things that you all don't know about me, but since I graduated college in the pandemic in 2020, It's been really hard to be a postgraduate, and the job market right now is just very wishy-washy with the not necessarily only the pay, but for the job that people are hiring for, there's not really much incentive in actually joining that company. And so when you're fresh out of college, it's a little unnerving. For me especially, my degree is in public relations, and so my college trained me in broadcast and cinematic arts, as well as journalism and communications. So I come with a lot of skills and experiences just from my education alone, but on top of that, I have other skill sets that I've acquired outside of education just because I am a self-learner. I am self-taught in a lot of things outside of, well, most things outside of my degree, I taught myself. I am a former beauty blogger. That's what this channel was originally, was Cosmetic Crazed, and I was a self-taught makeup artist, and that was really my first love and passion. And other than planning and whatnot, as time went on, I just kind of grew out of that, but I still am a content creator at heart and always need to create. And this is me working in my Hobonichi 2023 weekly planner. For those of you in the planning community, I'm sure you've probably heard about this. If not, I recommend you check out some other YouTube videos and see how it's used and demonstrated a little more in depth than I will go in this video or probably ever on this channel, just because it is personal to me and it is capturing a lot of the transitions in my life that I am not really too sure about myself, so I probably won't zoom in too much or in depth about it. But I am essentially right now, even in this clip, doing some self-teaching and working on self-reflection and again capturing some of those smaller moments and just jotting down 1 to 3 significant things that happened in the day and writing those down. I'm not necessarily the type of planner that will plan in advance according to a schedule. That's just not how my life works, unfortunately. It was pretty tough for me to come to terms with that when I first joined the planner community, because I watched a lot of Plan With Me videos that were so, there's no white space and they used a whole kit or, parts of a kit, or they have their own Etsy shops and they make their own stickers, so they pretty much have any sticker on hand that they needed. And it's a bit overwhelming to try to compete with that when really I'm in a journal, at least, I'm a writer, and it has to be functional, and there needs to be space for me to get out all of my thoughts. I am very ADHD and was diagnosed late in college, in the middle of college, actually, so it wasn't until my final 2 years that I really was able to hone in and focus and learn about the disorder. But it's still been hard the last few years because there's a lot of things that I understand from when I was younger in school. I didn't necessarily struggle with the educational part or the focusing, but there was a lot of confusion up there as to how my mind worked and why I couldn't just sit and focus on geometry when my best friend could, and we were pretty much equally the same, at that age when you're 15, and if you and your best friend aren't totally alike, then obviously something's wrong with you. But it's funny that something really was wrong with me, if you will. Not wrong, but there was a focusing issue there. And since I've been able to have that diagnosis and get the help that I need with therapy and medication, managing it is not as difficult, but it's still something that I struggle with every day. And I don't think that people in my everyday life will really realize how much of it has changed for me, because I now know that I need to operate a certain way in order to combat some of those effects that take over me, whether it's impulsiveness or laziness, procrastination, or just getting distracted by the smallest things that entertain me and my mind and occupy me in that moment. That's a hard thing to do on a daily basis, is to manage that, because now that I'm aware of it and I try to be mindful and catch myself when I am distracted, it's very overwhelming when you have to continue to correct your own self as an adult, because there's no correction for you. I'm 24 going on 25. I'll be 25 in May. And so I'm completely on my own. I have my family, of course, but I take care of myself. I don't live with my parents. No problems if you do. I actually wanted to live with my parents, but they were ready for me to kind of go out on my own, which is fine, because I went to college out of state and survived 4.5 to 5 years without them. So they knew I was more than capable. They just had to push me out, because when I came back after the start of the pandemic, I was just really clingy and not wanting to be out on my own. And now 3 years later, here I am. And so that's also a part of what this journal and planner is for me, is just being able to get those thoughts out and capture them in the same place, which is why I like the setup of the weeks, because you get the monthly layout for each month in the front of the planner, and then the second section has the weeks, so you get every week of the year, so you can do your weekly planning in the middle and not have to worry about everything being spaced out. And then in the back there are grid pages where you can journal or free write, and you have additional space to do whatever and kind of bullet journal, if you will. I've never really got into bullet journaling as part of like planning, because I get overwhelmed with the white space and not knowing what kind of banner to draw in. And so it's really just a picky thing for me. I'd rather just use a sticker to take care of the art and the aesthetic, and then write in whatever it is that I want. And so I like that the back of the planner gives me that option to be able to write and free think, and also draw and create a spread, if I will. So I've been spending time doing that, and also practicing commonplacing. If you're not familiar, I'll give you a quick rundown, but I'm not an expert, because I only just officially learned what it was technically last night of this recording. So I really am a novice, and I actually did a spread in the back of my journal about commonplacing, trying to use the commonplacing format, or I guess structure, and just to familiarize myself with it. But commonplacing is essentially where you have your special interests and you keep all of that information stored in an easily accessible place where you will be able to revisit it or quickly reference it if you need to, or even just be able to capture it and know where it is forever. And some people in the journaling community will do it in a journal or index cards, and there's a filing system. So if you're interested in that, again, you can look at it on YouTube and find some articles online and on Pinterest like I did. But it's really easy. Basically, you do it your own way. But for example, I have a special interest in grassroots organizations and nonprofit organizations, and I often refer to a lot of organizations for information and updates. And sometimes when something stands out to me, whether it's a quote or the entire article or it's a certain topic, I like to save it. And I can do that digitally. There are people that do that digitally as well, but pen and paper have always just felt right for me. I took notes by hand in college. I could not have a laptop or tablet in front of me in lectures or in class, because I will ultimately be on Facebook, even if that was not a rule. I'm so sorry if you hear that creaking. My neighbor upstairs has creaky floors, so I apologize if my headphones are picking that up. I'm actually finishing up this segment anyway, so it won't be much longer, hopefully. But just practicing commonplacing keeps everything organized, and so you can reference it. You can do quotes, you can do anecdotes, Bible verses or scriptures if you'd like. There's lots of other different purposes that you can use it for. And so this is just a journal entry. My word of the year this year is brave. And essentially I just choose a word of the year to kind of think on and really manifest in my life. And I've been doing this for a few years now. It's nothing like a New Year's resolution in my mind, but I guess you could call it that. But really, it's just a word that I focus on for the entire year. And the intention is to help me grow personally. It's not to attain anything, but it's to really look at the experiences of the year and reflect and see how that word plays into that experience and what lesson I can get out of it. So for example, the first time that I did it, the word was perspective. And that was because I was a freshman in college in a new state, and there are different mannerisms for each state. If you live in the US, then you understand what I'm talking about, especially if you go to a different coast, like if you go farther north and you're used to being in the Midwest, or if you go in the South and you're used to being West Coast or whatever. There are different cultures in different cities and states, and even in my hometown there's different cultures, but I butted heads with a few people. I don't want to say butt heads. There was some friction between some people, and there weren't any common factors really other than myself. And I think that a lot of the conflict could be described as I didn't put myself in someone else's shoes and think about how my actions or words affected them, even if the intention wasn't malicious. It's the way that it comes across if they're not used to the mannerisms that I'm used to. And so I basically essentially summarize it as like people in my hometown were just assholes, and people in my college town are just very polite, and none of them are sarcastic in any sense, apparently. At least at that time I didn't find any of them that were. Luckily I did later, which is why I stuck around after freshman year. But the point is, I had to really look at other people's perspectives, even if I didn't agree. Especially if I didn't agree, I looked at myself to really look into what it was that the issue was, and tried my best to amend it. Even if I couldn't with that person come to an agreement, I would try to amend it within myself so that there isn't any ruminating or grudges held against that person or that situation specifically. And that was a very eye-opening year for me, and just for my relationships, and just how me trying to focus only on this one word for an entire 12 months actually lasted past the first week of January, simply because it's just one thing to focus on and it's not an actual goal that is tangible. It just forces you to look at your life and see how in certain situations you should change, and you can reflect on that anywhere you are, no matter where you are. So it's not like having a fitness resolution where you have to be at a gym or using gym equipment or outdoors to work out and meet that goal. You can meet it in your mind, you can meet it writing down, you can meet it in your relationships, in your schoolwork, because that word and that definition will apply universally. And yeah, that's just something that I thought I would share with you all. I think I'm going to wrap up this talking segment here, because this video is longer than my standard videos, which I think they will be, but also because I am about to run out of glue in this clip, and I did not get to finish filming this spread that I'm actually starting right now, and I had to go and order some from the store for curbside pickup later. But I never actually came back and finished this spread, and I've done quite a few more since then. So I think in a few videos from now, in a few months from now, when I really crack the code on my journal, I'll do some spread flip throughs and just show you all from like a zoomed out perspective how it's going and what it looks like. If you're interested in that, let me know, and I will go ahead and do that. But thank you for listening, and I don't know how long the rest of this video is going to be because I haven't finished editing it. I just wanted to do this talking segment, but I thank you for watching and getting to this point, and I hope you enjoy the video.
like how the service and put my trigger details in and all of that details, but like having really just a fresh seafood and it had a grilled steak with a